Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Capture Points, the Overwatch podcast of GosuGamers.net. I'm your host, Radoslav Kolev, and oh boy, it's good to be back after what's been, 2 months of no Overwatch, no content, no competition, and no podcast. So basically, I had no excuse to talk to my 3 good friends. I mean, I had excuses, but why would I? This is a way better opportunity. My 3 good friends, Manmouth, Mightiest, and Hexagrams. Guys, we're back. We have Overwatch again. The world is beautiful. The stars are shining. Spring is coming. All these good things. The girls are starting to wear shorter skirts. Everything comes with the return of Overwatch. How are you feeling on this beautiful evening?
Wonderful, mostly because the girls are starting to wear their skirts. That's a nice addition, I suppose, to the season. Let's not talk about Overwatch. That podcast is played out. Let's talk about Skirt Watch.
Skirt Watch, yeah.
Oh my God.
We're starting on a such a good level. I mean,
No, it's great to be back, man. Overwatch, I overwatched all weekend, and it's good to see high level play, which I don't get to see when I'm playing myself. So, man, it's like there's so much good stuff happening. Like so many organizations getting into Overwatch, so much content being created. Like the month hiatus, I think, was good. It gave people time to stew and plan and really get things going because we're kicking it off like pretty big with the beta 2 coming out.
Jacob,
feeling salty about
you feel salty.
Bastion and Torbjorn.
Oh, we'll get to this.
We'll get to
this. Save the salt, because it's coming. The big rant about the balance, I guess. Tom, are you feeling salty as well, or are you in a better mood?
No, man. EU won. I'm feeling great. EU. So don't give me that look.
Sweet.
I mean, we can't escape the EUNA too. I think part of the reason a lot of people cry for getting tournaments and the scene overall region locked is because they want the EUNA rivalry to be like stronger and up there, like separate them so that it's only a chance time that they meet together. But I like watching the EUNA rivalry constantly in our tournaments. So it's some fun banter to watch EU teams win NA tournaments and vice versa.
When we have yep.
Asia is joining soon too, right? In the post it said on the 16th, Asia would get access to the servers would be up, didn't it? Asia, yeah.
Nice. So we gotta get to see some Southeast Asia action, probably quality action. I don't know. I'm not sure how big shooters are in the region, but I know that China loves that they're playing Crossfire. I think it's a big thing over there. So and China is a competitive region as a whole, but Southeast Asia they have a big scene in Hearthstone for example. But it's interesting to see how they'll fare in Overwatch now.
Yeah, StarCraft seems also really big there too. So I think anything that's an esport is going to find some sort of footing in that region or some sort of success at the very least. The region as a whole is hungry for esports.
Well, especially for Blizzard games.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so as we said, the game is back, and we'll go over everything new, and it's quite a lot of things to talk about. So I'm not sure how long the show will last. Might be a bit longer than our previous episode. We'll try to keep it on tight schedule so we don't bore you with continuous talk. But really, there's a lot to cover, and the major points will be the player profiles, progression system, the new maps and the new modes, some class balance, and the GosuGamers Overwatch tournaments that we had over the weekend. But first, the important question we have to ask and we have to answer at the start of the show: was the wait worth it?
Yes.
Yes.
The silence.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
definitely. So many things have been improved. It's incredible. They really did their job well. It was definitely worth the wait.
I feel that
I don't know. I'm of two minds of it because the product that they brought back is really, really good, right? I mean, but I was happy with it where it was, and I would have liked to see obviously I would have liked to have it open for those month and a half while they were improving some of this stuff. As from my perspective, spectator mode didn't get the fixes I wanted to see. The replay mode didn't get implemented at all. So as far as one aspect of the game being a standalone title and for players to just buy off the shelf and play and be interested in it, they made a lot of improvements on that end. Worth the wait? Probably, but there's still work to be done.
Yeah, the only problem that I have with it is, like, what they implemented does not seem like something they'd need to take the beta away for. It's
Okay,
just
so
they
you-
added new maps, balance changes, a couple other things here and there, the UI, progression system, but none of that seems like something that you'd need to like have people not playing the game to work on and implement.
Right, they implemented a new map while the beta was up. Hollywood came
Yeah.
out in the middle of the beta.
And new
so-
heroes.
Right, yeah. But, I mean, I guess it's in the past now. They took it away for whatever reasons. I think a lot of it is server-side stress testing and things along those lines. They wanted to upgrade servers before they added new people into the beta and things along those lines that they weren't comfortable keeping it up while they did that off-site, I suppose.
That's fair. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but I've noticed like before back in the original beta, I got not like super bad frames, but like like 45 to 60 fluctuating between there. I'm getting like 70, 80, 90 now. Like
Oh, yeah,
all
the game
throughout-
runs
Yeah.
way better, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although sometimes
So-
at the start of matches or when I respawn, it drops to like 30. I don't know if any of you guys have that or it's
Yeah,
just-
that
No,
I think
I had
some of
it a
that's
couple
might
of
be a
times,
preload
yeah.
issue. Like, it's just loading all
Yes.
the assets. So there, like in some games, actually, people have found workarounds for it. In like StarCraft, there's a map you enter that just preloads all the animations. It runs every animation that's in the game, so that it's already in your system. So it's just not implemented where all the assets preload in that way. And maybe that's why it runs so well in some situations. Or not. I don't know enough about computers to dispute it.
All right, well, let's start with the major talking points. And the first topic is obviously the progression system. Now, this is something we've talked about at length in previous episode when we had the show way back in 2015, and we've all agreed that this needs to happen because as the game was at its infancy, it didn't really have an extra incentive to play other than, well, it's Overwatch, it's new, and I want to shoot people in the face. You don't have any kind of leveling, any kind of hero progression, no skins, no nothing. You basically jumped into a game and played it, and then the match was over, and that was it. But now we have this cool progression system where you level up, you earn experience points based on how well you performed in a match. Like, did you win it? Did you get gold medals, silver medals, whatnot? And on each level you get a loot crate, and this loot crate can contains up to 4 items. Is it? I think it's four items of varying rarity. So you can get sprays and skins and voice lines and victory poses and whatnot. So it's a cool thing to do. You have something to look forward to. I especially, I scream like a little girl every time I level up because I know that some things I can get. I keep trying to find my cool Lucio skins, but I'm not getting any. But this is the big thing I would say that's implemented in the beta compared to what we had in 2015. So, first question though, are you guys satisfied with how quickly you level up and how everything is set up at the bottom of it? Tom?
Yeah.
Oh, me? Yeah.
Yep.
I just pick one. I think at the beginning it's very good how quickly you level up because it gives a certain feeling of accomplishing things, and players want to be satisfied easily in the beginning just to experience some more fun. I think they've kept the level at 50 now, right? You can't go higher than 50. I don't know how they will do that in the future because that means you can only get 50 loot crates and 200 possibilities of skins, so you can't really collect them all yet.
I
But-
think they've said that on release it won't have a cap. You can keep leveling up forever.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah, and I mean, it's not necessarily that you level up with a consistent amount of experience. If you're the best player in the match, you get extremely a big amount of experience, and if you get if you're still new, you don't get as much. So I think it's balanced nicely.
Brian, what do you guys
I'm a
think?
bit underwhelmed, I guess, by the cosmetics, and maybe I'm spoiled in the Team Fortress history that I have with the overwhelming amount of cosmetics, if you will. I mean, I like it. I like the system overall. I think is good. Maybe I'm also salty not getting like legendaries, but some of the skins are underwhelming. They took away the default emotes to put in new emotes. I think the coolest part of the systems and the rewards of the loot crates are probably the play of the game intro screens. Those have been really cool so far.
Yes.
Victory poses has been underwhelming. Some of the tints are a bit underwhelming. The legendary skins are of course great, but the system, I think, it's obviously good that they're giving away free crates for progression. I think that helps people grind, especially the early progression. You start playing and you're like, I'm getting stuff, I'm getting stuff, I'm getting stuff. Later on, I think some of the novelty of that will die off. I think it's also leading into paid cosmetics. Just the notion of crate. Yeah. The notion of crate, again, with the Team Fortress history, crates are cool, but you have to pay $250 to unlock them, and then you have a chance at something different. So that's where I think the system is, it's implemented to test the data they're getting from it and how people are reacting to it. I'm underwhelmed by the actual products of it, but I think the system itself is a good thing for Overwatch.
Old man Rob ruining everybody's fun.
Well, yeah, I don't like it. Moving on.
I think he's right though. Like it's, you know, that this is just the base of it, and it will grow when the game launches. And it, you know, I think that they definitely have to put more stuff in it to make it interesting, because for now, like, I don't find fun in a lot of these unlockables. Like, I don't care about sprays. Well, I don't go around the maps, you know, spraying and, you know, tagging myself on walls, because I'm not a 13-year-old rapper anymore. Well, anymore. I've never been. I've never been. It's a big secret of my life. But I do care about skins. I do care about victory poses, and I feel like it's, you know, every time I get a spray, it's like, yeah, it's something I basically didn't get. It's an empty item for me. I don't care about it at all. I would rather see skins. I would rather see something big, like a big visual change. You know, emotes are cool. The victory poses are cool because everybody sees them. You know, sprays. Yeah, only you see them when you spread them and then run away, and you know somebody shoots you in the face.
I mean, no, so you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Go ahead.
I'm doing it wrong.
Spray the payload.
Spray the payload?
You spray the payload.
Nice.
What happens on maps without payload?
You spray the capture point. Sprays are awesome, man. Don't hate on sprays. I love them. They're so fun.
Well, I mean, all that said about the system, too, and the kind of underwhelming nature of skins thus far, I don't think it's bad. Like, I would pay for, like, exclusive pay-for skins. And there are some skins that I think are worth paying for. Mariachi Reaper is up there. Like, some of the legendary stuff is really cool, so I have no issues with that. But also what I'd like to see, and maybe, Jacob, you can talk about, like, some of the hot skins and the system that they have in place, obviously similar games. But, like, hero-specific progression, I think, would be interesting, and then get a hero-specific skin when you reach a certain level, much like the master skins and HOTS. I think that'd be something to look forward to, maybe bringing to Overwatch.
I think the reason they don't want to do that because that'll make people want to play only one specific character, when Overwatch is really a game about swapping out and you know, using what best fits the situation, not what you most enjoy playing. So I think they're shying away from stuff like that for that reason.
Yeah, but is that really working, I guess, overall gameplay? Because I'm playing a lot of offenses with 2 snipers, so are people really going with what best fits the system anyway?
No, but that's the idea. So they need to at least try to push the idea, you know?
Right, I suppose.
Yeah, and I don't think actually that skin tins need to be you know, separate skins. I would just, you know, give it a skin, and then you unlock the different colors through a progression or something. Because right now you get different skins for a hero. It's basically the same skin but just different colors.
I think something that's really cool that's in the current build. I think this is the only skin that does this, but correct me if I'm wrong. The Wolf Hanzo skin actually changes almost all of his abilities and voice lines for his abilities. So
yeah, this needs to happen to other skins as well, I think.
Yeah. This needs to, I think this is going to be a precedent that they've set for themselves for big legendary skins like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so cool.
It's like the Heroes of the Storm, though. Those legendary skins, like Mecha Tassadar, comes to mind, of different mounts. And when they really change the whole feel of the character is when people get invested in skins, not like a yellow tint Tjorborn.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. I was so excited when I got my legendary Reinhardt skin, but yeah, it's just cosmetic, and it doesn't really.
This whole segment was just leading up to that, just leading up to the legendary Reinhardt.
You could see him just like, not? Oh, when is the segment coming? When is the segment coming? I want to brag about my legendary Reinhardt. He also got a rare and an epic in the same crate, so you're basically everybody's most hated person.
Yeah, I just knew the universe. I knew the universe had a sense of humor when my very first drop out of my very first crate was a Genji skin. I just knew that like the world has looked upon me and it is mocking my vitriol towards the ninja. But I couldn't help but laugh when that dropped for me.
And you know we are going to talk about Genji later in the show, just because we have to honor your return to the show.
Well, there's some
It's
interesting Genji things to talk about given yesterday's events.
absolutely, absolutely. So, I already spoke about what kind of unlockables I personally don't want to see, but what do you guys want actually implemented as unlockable in the game later on top of what we already have? Jacob,
I,
let's start with you, or Robert, because
What?
you're a chatty
Yeah,
guy.
because I'm chatty. I really like the idea, though, at some point to give particular heroes just a little extra thing at the end. Say, like, you get a level 10 Farah and her backpack changes, you know, or rocket pack, whatever. Or it's just little small things along those lines that maybe it maybe doesn't you know, push players to grind a certain character to that level, but it's a nice little thing. Like if you look over to your left and your Winston is running a different Congo skin, like this guy's going to be a good Winston. I have confidence in his abilities. He's played 100 games as Winston or whatever. Something along those lines is what I really like seeing out of skins in games overall.
Yeah,
It
to
could
piggyback
also-
off of that.
Yeah, you go ahead, Jacob.
Okay. Something similar to like what they have for the. I mean, it's in the game already, but it's really just a like an unlockable random garbage drop from the loot crates. Is the profile header things.
Yes.
Those for like the master portraits and stuff that HOTS has. Something along those lines. To show off like, hey man, I'm playing Widowmaker, but you know, I'm a damn good Widowmaker, so don't worry.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I was actually gonna suggest the same thing. I read it somewhere or I heard it somewhere. I don't know, but yeah, just the in-game hero portraits. Also, they should depict your legendary skin or rare skin or epic skin or just your
Yeah,
different.
the legendary skill would be cool actually,
Yeah.
or as Jacob said, you know,
Because you know, and I heard I can't remember where I heard this, but there it could be an argument that it could be confusing for new players if they boast a legendary skin and they can't really see which hero it is or which hero the opponent is playing. But I think the
Come
more
on,
you
it's
play,
the-
yeah, like if you play more, you get more loot crates, you get more skins, and you get accustomed to it.
I think
I
that's
mean,
a moot point because Heroes of the Storm has never had that issue where
Yeah.
somebody's confused about the hero.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I mean,
any
it's
MOBA
like-
really.
if you design a good skin, it will be recognizable on first sight. Like Heroes, I think has like about like one or two skins that you can confuse. I think there's like a Merlin skin and a Troll skin that look very similar, but that's about it. Every other skin on every other hero you can pretty easily recognize just from one side. And you know, Overwatch has what 30 heroes or something. It's pretty easy to design skins that are recognizable by everybody.
It is partly an issue though because some of the skins are a bit muddled now, and games like Overwatch, where it's all about picking your fights correctly and gathering data from a distance, the silhouette of a character is extremely important. So from a distance, if I can confuse an Imp Mercy and the new Symmetra skin, that's a problem, especially if the team is running both of them. Now you can use that data that you have on your tab key to say like, well, that can't be a Mercy, that's got to be a Symmetra. But anytime you're adding confusion like that just out of cosmetics where the silhouettes are starting to look similar and from a distance as a player you can't tell two different heroes apart, that is a huge problem for this type of game.
Yeah, that's true as well. Okay, well, moving on to player profiles. Now, this is something I was really fell in love with because it was high on my list of what I wanted to see. Because I'm a stats nerd. I like looking at graphs. I like looking at progression tables and what have you. Like when I was playing StarCraft 2, it was one of my most favorite things. You know, going to my profile and deep into it and just figuring out what I did wrong and what I did right and how well I'm doing with this race and that race. And it's coming now to Overwatch, and it does seem quite detailed, I should say. I spent a lot of time when it launched, and a couple of days later when I got some games on my account, basically exploring it and see what data I can pull out. And you really can, learn a lot about, yourself as a player and how well are you doing on this hero or that hero just by looking at stats. How do you guys feel about the player profiles? Is it complete enough? Is it missing stuff?
To be honest, I don't really look that much at the player profiles. It's not something I value too much. I think don't know why. Usually, I think it's more like you can compare with friends. I used to do that in Team Fortress 2, for example, where you at the start of every match you see how much you've played with each hero and what your highest earned points is, or with a certain class. But I don't know. For Overwatch, I don't value it too much. But I don't know.
Would you maybe look at it more if it was tied to achievements?
Yeah, definitely.
So like 10,000 damage in a single life as whatever hero, and you get like a little achievement.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned Team Fortress 2 again, and this game's always going to draw parallels to that, but that's, something that they had in their stats. One of the issues with the stats right now, and it is beta and it's very new, but some of the way the data is collected is a little interesting for people who are interested in stats, and I think, Tom, you might be one of them, is like more interested in the cosmetic than the actual stats, but there's going to be the other side of it as well, like pro players especially, and people are really concerned about their hit scan accuracy. I'm in the same boat as you, Tom, so don't worry about it. But
yeah, it's fine.
Your accuracy is calculated based on even if you hit shields and stuff. So just some of the way they're collecting the data is a little interesting. That needs to be worked out. I don't even look at the data all that often either, to be honest. The stats right now aren't really what's interesting me about the game. That I think they lack the context to really have any value.
I think what's missing actually is being ordered properly, because especially when you go on not the hero stats, but the second tab, which is basically random information about silver medals and bronze medals. It's pretty scattered. That there's no category to the data you're looking at, so you cannot really say, oh, how well I'm doing medal wise, and then you have silver medal on top, and then the middle of the list you have gold medals, and then like bronze medals or something on the bottom. It's really difficult for me to find the stat that I need, and I have to scroll out and read everything. So I cannot really look at a graph or at a data collection and see, okay, as a support, I have to know what my healing is and stuff like this, and as an offense, I need to know my accuracy and damage done, and I cannot really, take this easily and Snapchat it, not Snapchat, but snapshot it easily.
Yeah,
I think once the system is fully fleshed out, it'll be pretty useful for competitive. Like scouting players, seeing how good a player is at a certain role, stuff like that. But yeah, right now I don't think it's like Rob said, the context isn't there.
I think they're also walking that fine line of giving out too much data, especially live and during matches. That is kind of the basis of the medal system. You can see the top 3 players, right? You know where you are in that top 3. But Blizzard has always been kind of hesitant to show when players are doing badly because they don't want to have that vitriol come up. So, in different games, if you hit tab, you can see someone's been playing Widowmaker for 10 minutes and has 0 kills and 5 damage. So you can't see that in Overwatch, because if you could, you would just be flaming people constantly for how badly they're playing. And we see some of it come up in Heroes of the Storm too. It's obviously an issue they're addressing, where they only want to give out certain information about heroes during match because they understand that people are going to go after people who maybe aren't playing well. On the other side of that, it's valuable information for your team to have too. Like, hey, maybe switch off that you're not doing that well. Of course, people don't handle it that way, which is why they're walking that fine line of what information do we give out during a match and what don't we give out.
Yeah, I think the numbers they actually give out during a match is pretty spot on. I don't think that they need to go into more detail. Maybe, like in the future, they can make like let's say a competitive client or mode that observers get a bit more information they can show. Like, yeah. Because, as you said, looking at a Widowmaker in your game that's 0 kills after 10 minutes is bad, but this is actually valuable information during a competitive match. Why is this team losing? Tap. Oh, the Widowmaker is not doing anything, or the Reinhardt is constantly dying and not tanking damage. So these are things I would like to see, but I also understand why they're keeping it away from casual matches. But
right. The problem is, like, people can't handle that information because no one's going to use it the right way like adults. No one's going to say, like, oh, we could use this. It's going to be like, you're awful, uninstall the game. So honestly, it's our fault as people.
But pro teams do not function this way, right? This is what I mean. Yeah. It's entirely for the competitive community. Like,
the problem is that Blizzard doesn't usually design their games only around the competitive community.
Oh, no, yeah.
So also, they're very aware of the fact that people are going to use data as a weapon against other people, so they're probably pretty hesitant to do more with it because of that.
But it's a good suggestion to add it to spectator mode. I mean, spectator mode needs a lot of help, and that would be great to have like a very detailed scoreboard, of damage done, damage healing, and help us kind of catch the plays and catch the things that we're not seeing. Overwatch is a game that you can see one thing and it all looks very pretty, but what really happened was 30 seconds before, because when this heal went off, so giving more information to spectator would be great.
Oh, definitely.
I think I don't necessarily think the in-game data is that much of a deal, because if somebody's doing badly on your team. Like if you play just online random games, if there's a Lucio who's constantly messing up. I don't know, but you just think, oh, he died again. It's also a bit of the kill feed shows it, but also if, like for example today I was playing an online match and there was this Lucio who constantly kept on casting his ultimate while we were not engaged in a team fight. I don't know what he was thinking, but yeah.
Ultimate is up, I have to press Q. That's what he's thinking.
Well, it's also part of the problem that the lack of context for these stats. You can have you can gold medal all 3 stats and still have played very poorly for your team to win that game. Just because you have good stats doesn't mean you're playing well. We've talked about this before too. Like, oh, I got all the gold medals. It's like, oh, well, your team lost every team fight because you were often doing something that wasn't helpful at all. So in games like this and esports in general, the numbers don't tell you everything. So I think that it is such a fine mix that they have to find.
What I'm missing from the stats personally is map stats. And how I do on each battlefield, on offense and defense. This is something I have in Heroes, and I like it in Heroes. But here I'm missing it, and I really want to see it because hey, how do I need to improve my play? Let's say offense on Numbani or stuff like this. It's going to be something cool if they add it to the player profiles. I really want to see it in the future.
I think something that would be really interesting to use, and Rob, back me up here if you agree, is the the graph system that like Dota uses. If you could implement it in a way to make it useful for Overwatch, like you see the length of the match, like minute 1, minute 2, minute blah blah, and you see like we'll go with like healing. We'll use healing as a stat. So you see like at minute 2.5 there was a huge team fight that was ultimately decided by a Lucio cast, and you see a huge boom spike in his healing right there from his ult. Something like that be useful.
Yeah, they have a data system like that in StarCraft, actually, too, where it goes minute by minute and shows like heroes produced, damage done, damage received, army value, and things like that. So the system is in place for Blizzard to do so. But yeah, I think infographics are amazing. So anything that they can do in the system to just pump out easily digestible information for people who don't understand numbers like myself and just want to see pretty pictures, I think that'd be great. And it also does that fine line of like, is this too in-depth? Is this too analytical? Or you can just see, oh, that's a really big bar graph. They did well. It's that good blend.
Graphs are always better. That's a fact. Nobody likes to look just at raw numbers. The moment you put them to graphs, to charts or whatever, it gives proper context, I would say. So I'm actually sure that we're going to see it. Probably not this year, because I know that they have a lot of work to do on the game itself. So, and this is like really advanced quality of life. So maybe like in 2070, it would be cool when the esports scene actually crossed something, tangible, that has a weight on the esports scene. But
I would put money on the fact that achievements will be in the game by the time it releases, because it's going to consoles, and achievements and consoles go hand in hand.
All right. So moving on to the next subject, the new maps and modes. Now this is another big thing. Originally they said, we're not gonna have new maps and new heroes, and this is what you get. But not only do we get new maps, we get a new mode to play the game. It's called Control, and Lijiang Tower and Nepal are the 2 new maps. So basically, the way you do it is you have a fighting point in the middle of a map. You have 3 rounds, and basically, while you're occupying the capture point, you build up towards 100%. And when a team reaches 100%, it scores 1 point. The first team to score 2 points is the winner of the entire game. And I love it. I mean, it's a mode that I've really wanted to see because it really incentivizes a lot of action, and the action is usually concentrated in one place. So as a viewer, even as a player, actually, I think it's done way more for it, and it will do way more for the Overwatch esports than, let's say, a payload map. Although we have some cool payload maps. What is your verdict, guys, on the Control mode, and do you like it as much as I do?
Dude, I love the control mode maps. It's
Oh,
literally
you're a
literally
man
a
mode.
circle that is a mosh pit of violence. It's amazing.
And we've actually seen, because you know that when you know you're playing control mode, you have to build your composition differently, because we've seen,
Yeah.
in the past, capture points and payloads are somewhat similar, maybe, in terms of composition. Sure, payload maybe incentivizes more, slow pushing, sluggish compositions, the Reinhardts and whatnot. But here you really need, let's say, AoE damage. You really
Lucio.
need a lot of firepower. You need Lucio. You always
Lu-
need Lucio.
Lucio is just so good on this.
He's ridiculous, yeah. So
Lucio's in every composition on every map, though.
yeah. But
Because
Yeah,
here
Lucio's
he's
he's
really
he's
strong.
even more ridiculous.
I
So
love King of the Hill. King of the Hill has been my favorite game mode in almost every FPS I've ever played, and I think in two aspects. The competitive aspect, of course, I beamed about it yesterday, but in a pickup game, a King of the Hill mode feels less reliant on your team. You feel like you can carry. You don't have to struggle to get people to push the cart because everyone's just going to be around the point anyway fighting. It feels very dualistic. It's the closest to DM that you kind of have in the game if you just want to play and get in skirmishes one-on-ones. I think the maps are beautiful. They're really well designed. The verticality of the maps is phenomenal. And I think it's really fun to watch competitively and watching teams kind of figure it out and who's the team that's really going to like this game mode and dominate it and force teams to play against them.
I mean, I know the excitement from just competing on this map. I remember like it was in one of my first two or three games on this mode, and I had 99% versus 99% game, and we were overtiming for about like 3 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
Pushing each other off the capture points, and this was intense. I've never felt more alive in a video game for a long time. Really, it was like, that every single mistake, 1 second off the capture point, it's game. And I was like, oh man, I can only imagine what it is when I actually see professional teams, doing it. And then we saw it in our Overwatch weeklies. I think it was the match that you suggested to me, Tom. It was Mix Up versus Eccentric. They had a 99% versus 99% battle on Lijiang Tower, and it was crazy. It was absolutely insane. It was one of the best Overwatch experiences I've seen on stream. It's ridiculous. I think, more of this, for me personally, as a viewer and as a player, more of these mods, more of these deathmatch skirmishes we get in the game. It will just get better.
It also
Yeah,
buffed some heroes too. Well, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I think the system they've implemented is obviously hinting towards like a more competitive approach with the 2 out of 3 to win and everything. But for a real competitive aspect, it's still a bit too quickly, I think. I mean, you can always still play 5 times on Nepal or Lijiang or whatever. But in general, I really love the maps. And where Lucio is is everyone's favorite as support, I personally love Junkrat a lot. Just sit in the corner
He's sick. He's sick
and just
too.
shoot the grenades into the point and watch everyone die and lay your traps. It's really fun.
To that point, I was going to mention the game mode. I think brought a lot of heroes back into the fray of a fight because it is just kind of a skirmish. But we're seeing Choreborns all over that map. Winston gets an indirect buff because those maps really value being able to change people's positions. We're seeing Pharah's doing a lot of work with the alternate ability rather than just rockets knocking people off ledges. So it's really given a space for some heroes to operate where they're not necessarily as good on a payload or a control point. But King of the Hill, Winston is phenomenal. Anything that moves someone around is phenomenal. Lucio gets another little buff because his ult's fired, knocks people off cliffs. Like, it's really cool when they add a new game mode and then it brings a lot of more characters to life. Not that Bastion and Torbjorn needed more help with a new game mode with this patch, but you see a lot of new heroes, and it's good to see that the entire roster is viable in that game mode.
Yesterday, me and a friend convinced a random pub group to do 1 Lucio and 5 Winstons, and we almost won. I love this game. I love this
So
map.
I think we basically did the same thing early in the beta. We actually recorded the video when we were doing it. Basically, yeah, 1 Lucio and 5 whistles on Hanamura. I think we won it in under 2 minutes. It was ridiculous, and
Stupid.
I,
If we're sharing war stories, we won all soldier 76 on defense yesterday and just wrecked the other team. One a caveat though, most of those players were from Team Eccentric, and one of those players was Pluppy, just nailing people with 76. So that might have something to
yeah,
do with it.
yeah. Well, I think it's more you carrying them than anything else. But
Yeah,
it's,
probably.
I mean, Flippy is okay. I mean, he's not you, so we'll mention him later in the podcast as well. In an actual light and actual truths. But you guys, Robert, you mentioned balance, and a lot of changes have been made to many heroes. And I'm just gonna start from the top of the patch notes and go over the I would say more major changes. The first thing is actually it's not connected to any hero. It's connected to the how ults recharge, and this has been a topic that's been addressed in multiple podcasts. I don't think we've actually talked about it ourselves, but I know that the pro player community and other shows have already addressed the issue about ultimates recharging maybe too quickly, which is cool until you see what ults are actually in the game. Swingy skills like Mercy's Resurrect, like Zarya's what's it called? Jesus, you know what I mean.
Graviton
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 Surge.
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 Yeah,
Oblat
Graviton Surge.
to the Tobelstein, right?
Yeah. Uh, you know,
How do you even remember that?
Wow.
Gotta play Zarya more, man. Zarya's Bay.
Zarya's
Gosh.
Bay. Yeah. So the change to the ultimates is they are no longer recharging while you're taking damage, and also it no longer generates overtime for all heroes. Now, how do you see these changes? Are they enough? Are they good?
It's an attempt to nerf Reinhardt, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely, and all tanks, I would say.
Well, I mean, he's the one that comes to mind the most. You know, that shield up, and it's such a strong shield, and people are just pelting away at it because you have to at some point. You have to put damage on it, and it's why we didn't see Junkrat early on because it just felt like you were giving Reinhardt free ultimates. I think it's a smart change because Reinhardt, as Lucio, is in every team, every composition, every map. So getting the variety by weakening him a little would be good. And also his ultimate used to be stronger. They also directly nerfed him by making his ultimate a little bit weaker. And now he can't cast it quite as often because that ultimate, it's a game-changing ultimate. It sets things up. It swings fights. It does everything really, really well. So you can't have people taking damage charging their ultimates. I mean, it's directly in response to the tanks having ultimates up too fast, and I think it's a really smart change. And also the timing, making ultimates charge just kind of based on a timer is really smart too, because it makes other heroes more valuable.
I think that the biggest thing to get out of this is that spam characters are now no longer terrible, which is great because I love Junkrat.
Who do you guys who do you guys think it affects the most other than Reinhardt? Probably.
The ultimate change?
Yeah, the ultimate change. Which characters are punished the most?
Oh, Zarya.
Punish the most. Yeah, Zarya.
Punished the most. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zarya's entire mechanic is based around having to take damage, right? So a really good Zarya, you're getting hurt a lot of the time. So the fact that doesn't charge your ultimate, but also probably still pretty smart too, because her ultimate, much like Reinhardt's, can change a game in so many different ways. It doesn't do the damage Reinhardt's does, but yeah, just the tanks and the tank ultimates have been most effective or most affected.
Yep.
Okay. So moving on to some hero changes, Bastion is a bit reworked, and the big thing is now he can aim at 360 degrees, so he no longer has the the degree turn limitation that he had before the patch went live. He doesn't get the shield. He has get some flat armor on top of his health, but now he has a core on his back that is exposed, and if you hit it from triple damage. So he can still be sniped by Reapers, by Genjis, by Trace, his usual counters. But to me at least, they said they wanted to make him less threatening in the hands of like in newbie games, in low level storms, but also at the same time more viable in professional games, in high level competition. Which is, I guess, he is in the same boat as Torbjorn. I think in one of the episodes we had last year, we talked about, the same issue, with Bastion and Torbjorn not really being utilized to the fullest in competitive matches because of how they have to stand in one place, and this is always a disadvantage. However, I know that a lot of people are, annoyed at the strength of Bastion now, and although he's still counterable, he feels really strong.
Yeah, I'd argue they're both much, much, much stronger in pub games now than they were before. Like they didn't succeed on that front at all. They're way better at squashing unorganized teams than they were before.
Yep. Almost every match I see one, if not both of them, on defense. I think Bastion is a weird hero. I feel like he's still a little too healthy. I like what they did with his DPS, though. The fact that you can't just get deleted in half a second anymore, because he used to fire, more damage and faster. Now it's a little slower, or something along those lines. You have a chance to escape. Just being in a sight line doesn't kill you immediately anymore. He doesn't operate the same way that a sniper does. You still get punished, but you have about a second to get out of there. I don't know, it feels bad when I'm playing a Bastion and I drop right on top of him as a Reaper and I ultimate, and at the end of it I see a kill cam and he's got half his health left. Like there's something that needs to be done about that health pool, because when I'm playing a hero that's supposedly a pretty good counter to him and then I ultimate on him, you should die to that. You should always die to that. And so when you can't have a team that's completely organized and you're going to dedicate resources to a Bastion and you have to do it yourself in a pub, you should be able to do it. He's, I think, a little too strong in some aspects still, but it's really hard to compare between pub play and competitive play. In pubs, it's dominant. I don't see defensive maps without a Bastion anymore.
Yeah.
And even offense, I lost with a 6-man team, a party. We lost to an offensive Bastion on Volskaya. Which is capture point and not payload. It was quite embarrassing, but I don't know. They just put him on that platform, stuck a Mercy behind him, giving him the damage boost and healing boost if he needed some. And then when it was time, he dropped his ulti and just blew everything apart. It was devastating. Definitely interesting experience though. But yeah, they need to do something about that.
And them dropping the shield isn't really an issue because, I saw in competitive games, you just place him behind a Reinhardt and now you get your shield. And you can turn around and shoot everybody that comes behind, Reapers, Traces, what have you. And in the front, you're well protected as well, so you really don't have to worry about. Put him on a payload and he will defend it and actually attack with it to no end. So
they literally buffed him by giving him 360 no scopes.
Yeah.
Yep.
The setup change, though, the transition times change is really interesting, though, and that's what's brought him to competitive. We saw him run a couple times yesterday on Hanamura, actually, where you just run that setup, you boost him in, you set him down, and because he can set up so quickly and become a threat so quickly, he's gotten into the competitive meta a little bit. So that was the change I think they needed to make, because playing Bastion before the changes, it always felt bad dying. Like when you knew someone was coming for you, you knew you were going to get shot. You saw it a mile away. You had good game sense and awareness that you should be awarded for. You still couldn't get out and up on time to try to defend yourself. So I think that change overall is a good mechanical change. Just some of the other reworks they did around it weren't quite on point.
Right. So yeah, I still feel he should be tweaked down a little bit. He does way more than he should, I feel. But we'll see. I mean, it's just the first week of the patch, so
I think he has too much health.
Yeah, I think that this might be the problem because, as Robert said, the deploy time was really needed because you would just get killed even if you react on time. So I applaud this, but the health and maybe I think even the damage is a bit too much. I don't know.
Damage used to be a lot worse. I think the problem in Overwatch right now is a lot of people don't like taking damage from a distance. Like it's just frustrating to deal with being across the map. There's complaints about Torbjorn, I don't care anymore. That turret range being a little too long, which it might be. They nerfed Widow earlier because taking that much damage from far away when you can't do anything about it. Games like this, I think, rely on being able to see a threat and being able to do at least something about it. And not being able to fight, which is why snipers are always hated in games, because you feel like you lost a fight you weren't even in. You didn't have a chance to fight. So it's the damage at a distance that they kind of knocked down a little bit on him, I think, just DPS-wise. But, yeah, damage from a distance is always going to piss people off.
All right. Moving on to Mercy now. This was the go-to healer, I would say, in both regions before the beta went down. Mercio was a popular combination to the point with every team was using it on every map. And part of Mercy's popularity was, of course, the power of Resurrect. Now it's been toned a little bit down. And the major part is the range. It's decreased from 40 feet to 15 feet. And I was playing Mercy I didn't read the patch notes before my first game on the new patch. It was like, okay, 3 people are dead. Why can I only revive one? And then I went back and saw, well, yeah, I mean, it's essentially 3 times less the range, and it feel actually good. I feel when I res 3 people as mercy now, it feels rewarding. Before it was basically a matter of clicking Q. Now I have to actually get into the fight, position myself, see who's around me dead, and then Q, and then maybe turn the fight. It's much difficult to be the guy that carries the team, the guy that turns the fight around. What do you guys think about?
This is a good change for pretty much the reason you said. I mean, Mercy suffers from the same fate that TF2 Medic suffers from, where it's just so boring to play, right? Like you're just on somebody the whole game, piggybacking off them being their pocket healer or pocket damage increase, or in TF2's case, their invulnerability. And so like having that moment where you can say, okay, if I position myself here around my team that was just wiped by all their ults, and I Q, and right there, boom, my team is up back again. It feels good now, It's you got a moment where I played well, and I positioned myself well, and my high skill gameplay was rewarded instead of just being a mobile healing laser beam that occasionally reses all of the team from wherever.
Yeah, it raises the skill ceiling. That's all it does. It completely raises the skill ceiling. It makes her more of a gamble to play, because if you die before that res is off and die getting in position to get that res off, that's it.
Yeah.
You kind of just blew it for your team, and it makes survivability that much more important because of the range. We saw it over the weekend that a Mercy getting killed early in a fight is a bad Mercy, and we saw a great Mercy come up and res teams time and time again by staying alive, staying in position. So all it does, in my opinion, is raise the skill ceiling of Mercy, and I think that's a great thing.
Tom, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I definitely think nerfs are very good for her. I think what they did now is that what a support should do, a support should enhance team play and support team play and reward team play in such a way that if the support is good around and the team is positioning well, then you should be able to perform as effectively as you want. And previously, the Resurrect didn't really, how do you say that, stimulate that, because you could just wander off and try to flank, get killed, and just get resurrected from like miles away, and you're like, okay, here I am back again, now I can kill you from behind or something. Whereas now, you're more stimulated to stick together a bit more and position as a team as a whole, rather than just individuals wandering around. And yeah, so I think it definitely gives a boost to the competitive level of Mercy.
It also opens up the counterplay to it too, because when a res comes up and everyone's got to be in that smaller area, then you see counter ultimates come down too. I mean, I've seen many of Resurrections completely wrecked by a Death Blossom right after.
Yeah, or like a Graviton Surge and Dragon Strike, or
anything. It basically raises the skill cap of Mercy's teammates as well, because they have to know where she's positioned, and if they die now, what's the damage to the team, I would say, because as Tom said before, you didn't give a damn. I die, I have Mercy on a team, it's 90% I'm getting up alive, regardless of where I'm positioning. And now I know, because I used to play Mercy a lot, now I'm not so much, but when I'm playing with Mercy, I constantly look around like, okay, where is she? Can I get her effect on me if I die now? I cannot just willy-nilly go, backdoor or flank or whatever, and then rely on me being back alive just because we have Mercy on my team.
It also forces Mercy into tougher and better decisions, in my opinion, when you're going to use the Resurrection, or if you have to do kind of the battlefield triage of like, they're dead. If I bring them back, they're already going to be dead again. I'm saving this. They're lost to me now. We have to save it for those who are still alive. So she's got a lot of different plays, whereas before it's like, well, everyone's up, I'll just use my Q. And we've seen competitive teams use Mercy differently on just how they want to play. When Not Enigma was playing really strong and aggressively, they would lose one player and just res it right away because they want to fight with 6. Whereas Envious would wait like for 4 or 5 wipes, and then Esper would bring the entire team back up. So where they're using it, those decisions they're making with Mercy are now even more impactful.
And even in just random pub games, when you overextend and put yourself in a bad spot and inevitably die, and you're like, oh, okay, that's it. And then you see, oh, you're rezzed. holy crap, this Mercy must be amazing. How did she get back there to even res me? And then you guys both get out. It's like, oh my gosh, this Mercy's like a god. I can't believe that just happened. So
It feels
it's
way,
nice.
way more rewarding now, yeah.
Yeah.
Soldier got another, I would say, buff. Mostly changes to his spread. They
So
did
annoying to play against. Ugh.
Yeah, it's.
love
I
it.
thought his damage was buff, but it wasn't. It was actually his accuracy. So if you, although there's a damage fall off in long distance, the way you can play him in a burst mode now, makes him basically a very mobile sniper with self healing. This is how I feel playing against soldiers right now. Like I remember a game we had on Dorado, and basically that we had. The opposing team had a soldier sitting in the sniper's nest, and he kept killing us. It was really annoying until we actually get rid of him. I wasn't actually expecting to see soldier there. He's usually in the thick of battle, flanking people or shooting them straight up. You don't see them on the sniper's nest, killing you from there. And I feel overall his playstyle has changed a bit because of this. What do you guys think?
I love it.
I also like it.
I love
I
it
have to
too.
tell you why
It's annoying, but I love it too.
I mean, he was in kind of a weird spot before where he was like slightly lower tier, like from like average. So he was like slightly below average in terms of just his viability. But I mean, now he fills a really nice role. He can be off to the side by himself to just poke and prod at the enemy team, maybe get some picks every now and then, because he can sustain himself. He can just heal himself right back up with the E. So he is almost like a sniper, but because of the damage fall off, I don't think he can actually like straight up kill people from that range. But yeah, I think he actually has a place now.
Yeah, I think it puts him into that like jack of all trades role, which he was kind of good at before, but missing a little bit of tools in his kit. He's been a counter pick to Ferez before, but McCree I think is a better counter pick. But like you said, he can do so many different things now. If you want to charge him in a fight and use that sustain, that's a possibility. He can also watch a flank from a safe distance, one of those long hallway flanks. He can completely shut down an area. And the damage fall off I think is smart too. It's no one likes dying from a distance instantly, but at least if you get plunked by a soldier, you got to know, well, I can't go that way. That's just how that match is now. I can't go that way. We saw him to great effect on Hollywood too. I think the changes brought him up to a very good space, and they raised the skill ceiling again, and anything they can do to raise hero skill ceilings in my opinion is a good thing.
Tom, thoughts on soldier?
Yeah, I remember this one frustrating moment when I was I have to admit I'm not the best Widowmaker player in the game, but
Who
I wouldn't
is?
have guessed. No.
I didn't spot the soldier who was standing like I don't know, just maybe some 50 meters away. I didn't spot him. I was focusing on another corner of the map, but all of a sudden I was taking damage and I look over and I saw the last bullets and the helix rockets flying at my face, and then I was at respawn. So yeah, he's doing quite a lot of damage, but I also like the way he has been changed. I think maybe tone him down a little bit more on the damage, but yeah.
I think that they did tone down the damage actually. The damage is lower. It's his accuracy and spread that's being fixed, if I'm not mistaken, right?
You're getting hit by
I
more
think-
bullets.
I think Tom means
Yeah.
lower it more. He wants it to be more lowered.
Yeah, so basically
Yeah.
he hits you and you get healed, right? It's up to this point. Like our proposed changes to Genji once upon a time. He hits you and he heals you. This
Yeah.
is something Robert is an advocate of. for
It
a
still
long
sounds
time.
too strong.
Yeah. This is going to be a running joke for a long episodes. Finally, I want to talk about Torbjorn now. He was kind of, as we said, in the Bastion mode. Quite strong, I would say, on low level pubs and quite weak in high level competition. But now he's got a lot of changes as well. We could say he had a rework. Basically, he hits slower now, but a bit harder. Upgrading turrets doesn't cause scrap anymore. And overall, the scrap has been made so that it can be utilized more. I think you have a higher cap on the scrap. You actually get markers on the map where scrap is, so you can collect it more quickly. You can throw throw it at people, at your allies more often, and it actually doesn't show when somebody's armored from Torbjorn's scrap. So I actually love how they did it, because when I was playing Torbjorn, the few times, I was just basically wasting all my scrap on upgrading turrets. And now that the turrets have a bit of a different system, you cannot upgrade to level 3 without Molten Core. And Molten Core overall, to me, feels like more of an ultimate now, because I hit it and I get a level 3 turret upgrade. So to me, it's a positive change for Torbjorn. But what do you guys think overall?
I think he's almost like a sort of soft support now, Symmetra. I think he's actually a better support than Symmetra now, because it gives you 75 armor, and armor not only gives you more health, it also reduces damage you take. So I think that's more valuable than 50 shield.
The new scrap mechanic is great, and he's much more fun to play that way too in pubs. I enjoyed myself actually playing Torbjorn recently on King of the Hill maps, which is just an evil thing to do, by the way. Putting a sentry on a King of the Hill map is cheap as hell, but whatever. Be ants at a picnic if you want. But I was running around and just giving everyone scrap the entire time. The entire time, my whole team was just getting armor, and he's got that jovial voice. His armor here. Really fun to play on pubs, I think. Not fun to play against. And we even saw him in competitive, too. And he had a little bit of a role and played pretty well, because it's something you have to deal with. You want to ignore the turret and kill the Torbjorn first, but you're just taking turret fire the whole time. So I think he's in a good spot now. I think the problems with Torbjorn now that my complaints are, I'm like, I just finally killed that bastion that's been in the bush. Oh, there's a Torbjorn in another bush. God damn it. So it's the fact that there's 2 robots shooting at you now, which is the problem. But Torbjorn overall is more fun to play. Like you said, he's a good support now. Yeah. I enjoy giving out scrap. The Molten Core mechanic's good. He hits really, really hard, but he's like kind of slow and can be punished too. So I like him. I like the changes. I think he's much more valuable. I think the problem people have with him now is when you see like 4 of them on an enemy team, you're like, this just isn't fun. It's not that fun to play against, but it's fun to play as.
I think if they reduce the turret range by just a little bit, he'll be like perfect, like in a really, really good balanced spot.
Turret range and the tracking and the locking on, it's all a little bit quick. You can't, like if you hear a turret, you're gonna take fire from it rather than hearing it. It's got a second to track and you got away.
Yeah, I also think I read it in the Reddit thread about our tournament that the turrets are deployed very quickly and build up extremely quickly. Maybe a bit too quickly, because right when one turret explodes, it doesn't require scrap to build another one. You just deploy it, hit it a few times, and you have another level 2 turret, which is very strong. So maybe set it on a cooldown a bit, or I don't know.
I think you just have to put pressure on Torbjorn, and that's just a way you have to counter that. Because if you're playing Pharah, you destroy his turret and you keep firing, he can't put another turret up. It's exploded immediately as he does. So I think that just opens it up to being...
It doesn't come down with full health. And a lot of the comparisons were actually like that Torbjorn is now just a mini-sentry engineer from TF2. And in that game, they ended up changing the mini-sentry so that it didn't deploy at full health, which is where Torbjorn already is. But mini-sentries do have less range and less damage, and you can out-track them. So right now, the comparisons that I've seen in some threads about it, it's like playing against a mini-sentry engineer who just drops really, really good sentries all the time. And anyone who's played any second of TF2 knows that mini-sentries are the bane of a lot of people's existence.
All right.
Yeah. Before we move on to the next subject, I would like to take this moment to give a shout out to the development team for correctly and magnificently balancing D.Va. I think she's done. I think they've done a good job personally.
What do they do actually? I have to look closer into it.
So, yeah.
They fixed her?
So they reduced the size of her defense matrix by 50%. I'm reading here, and they also, previously when the mech suit died. The little girl could still hide behind it because it was still an object, and now
it immediately explodes
instantly.
Now, right?
Yeah, it now instantly explodes. So
the little girl, he said, it's the actual D.Va, right? It's the little girl. It's like a chibi, random chibi. It's like, wow.
That's a good question. Which one is the actual D.Va?
I'm gonna go with mech suit.
Wow.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to be a Velociraptor here.
But anyway, like I think they nerfed her very well.
Okay.
like in the tournament from last weekend, you didn't see end of the game D.Va spam anymore, which was the biggest problem with D.Va. Right, when the payload was
Yeah.
almost closing in on the final
You
point.
saw
so.
you saw a couple, and actually D.Va. It's interesting with the Torbjorn talk we just had that D.Va's really good to kind of deal with a team that wants to run a Torbjorn. So we saw some D.Va spam try to come out towards a few tournaments, but nothing in the way that we saw beforehand, and I think it's because of those changes.
All right. Any other big hero balance changes that were missing towards the end of the sock?
I think there might have been some undocumented stuff. Roadhog also
Oh.
feels better. Roadhog got buffed, where he actually can fire after he hooks now. It felt so bad to hook someone at low health and somehow they shot you in the head first. It's like, that shouldn't be how that works, right? So he got kind of buffed. I feel like Pharah's rockets aren't doing the splash they used to, but that might just be my gameplay. But I've heard other people say it. I've heard other people say it as well, that the rockets feel like they're not splashing in the way they used to.
Actually, the reason why you can shoot someone in the face after hooking now is because the stun duration is longer after hooking.
Okay,
They
I thought
increase-
I thought his switch to gun was faster, but either way, it's the same effect.
One last nerf was on Symmetra. She can no longer gain ultimate charge while
While
charge
having
out,
the teleport, yeah.
which is very nice because that was the worst. Oh, it sucked so hard to destroy a turret and then immediately hear the enemy have a destroy a teleport and immediately hear the enemy have a teleporter. It's horrible.
It's a pretty good voiceover. It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I actually was the original voice of whatever character that was in game.
Yeah, I believe you totally. It's
why the game is still in beta.
Wow.
yeah, they're trying to fix out Jacob's voice.
Savage.
Oh god, it's so deeply implanted in Overwatch they cannot really get it out.
Guys are so
but-
savage.
Finishing the podcast with some esports talk. Actually, we had our GosuGamers Overwatch weeklies, two of them, as we usually do on Saturday and Sunday, one for E, one for NA. IDDQD won 3-2 against Reunited to win EU Cup number 3. Now Reunited is the ex-Fnatic, IDDQD are the ex-Hotastic. Obviously, one brand is more known than the other, but strong showing from both teams. I would say it was actually quite an exciting final. In NA, Eccentric 3-0'd Melty in the finals, a bit more one-sided affair, but the semi-final between Eccentric and Mixup was actually quite a match to watch, and I recommend that you go find the VODs on our coverage hubs and watch this match because it was amazing. Although, no wins for Melty, who were previously considered one of the best teams in the world. That they still are, but pretty good overall showing overall finals in NA and semis in EU. Still, showing that they still got it even after 2 months of a break.
Yeah, Melty went on
This is kind of your segment, so we are gonna let you talk a bit more because only you watch competitive Overwatch. No, but you watch more than us. So
no, I didn't catch either of these tournaments this weekend. Someone fill me in.
No. Who casted them? It was somebody
some dude, some jerk.
Some dude, yeah.
Yeah.
We should get you for next editions.
Yeah, I think it was ZP and I don't know some what's his name? Seth
MacFarlane.
Is that him?
Seth MacFarlane.
That's a new one. I've been called a lot of things, but never Seth MacFarlane, sir.
Nice. You're really moving up in the world, Rob.
I guess.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead. Go. I mean, I have plenty to say on it, but go ahead. I want to hear other people talk about Overwatch for a while.
I just think it's really neat to see all the teams shaking off the dust, from the long hiatus, getting back in the swing of things, and to see how the meta's changed so significantly since since the last iteration of the beta.
I guess a good way to break into this is, what do you guys think of the new Zenyatta meta? He's everywhere right now.
Yeah,
I love it.
I don't mind. Yeah, I like Zenyatta.
I like it because he was never to be found before. Last year you would see Zenyatta, you would be excited because that's something new, right? It's only like one in every 20 games or something. Even in pubs where you can play basically everything. What do you think spurred the return of Zenyatta, Robert?
I think a lot of it is we talk about it on the cast too. Trying to deal with the opponent's Genji. It's kind of this never-ending cycle of they're running a Zenyatta Genji, so we have to counter that. What's the better counter to it? We have to run our own Zenyatta Genji. So we've seen a lot of that. I think why we're seeing. Perhaps with the Mercy buffs, we're seeing Mercy fall out of favor because she's much harder to play. But why we're seeing Zenyatta is that his cast for his ultimate is instant. And so sometimes you can lose a fight by losing a Mercy early or losing a Lucio early before you can get that sound barrier off. There's no sadder sound in the world than him dying in the middle of a break it down that doesn't actually hit the ground. So that transcendence
let's
coming
break
off in
it.
fights. Yeah, exactly. See, that's why
Wow,
you're doing the
you're so good
voiceovers.
at those.
That was solid, but that's why we're seeing them too. Also, just the utility. All these plays of the games, well, good Zenyatas are marking, killing, and moving on. We're seeing 3 to 4 kills, and so you're constantly doing the healing to help your other flanking characters too. And in the competitive meta, where you're not running a solo support, he's completely viable in that aspect. And people are playing him smarter too. He can hide away, he can get away. Now that you can heal shields, also helps him. So he's got a lot of indirect buffs. Mercy got a little underbuffed. Genji's still super strong, and who's really strong with Genji? Zenyatta. So pretty much everything in his kit is working out to their favor. But I think the biggest thing I took away was that his instant cast is really working on the highest levels where ults come out to ults in response to ults. And so being able to get it off instantly and reliably is what makes him so strong right now.
And the fact that he's invulnerable during it. I mean,
yes, that helps.
That is pretty good, I'd say. PG.
Tell me, you're a fan of the Zenyatta meta also?
Yeah, I like Zenyatta a lot. Actually, it started way back when the game wasn't even in beta yet, and I just saw the poster of the heroes. I've always liked this kind of monk-ish aspect of characters. I don't know, this kind of Zen meditating thing, and I thought, oh, he's gonna be awesome. And then when beta launched, he turned out not to be that great, but now, yeah, I just plays your orb on orb of Discord on anyone, fire away, and then when that one's dead, place it on a new one and just fire away, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah, as the guy said, I think he's just gotten better, not because of direct buffs or direct nerfs. It's more people learning how to play with him and how to play against him. Yeah, that's really got him back into the meta. Because yeah, as you said, as compositions get figured out, Zenyatta finds his place, and he's really, really good now. I think I saw it more on EU than NA. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think NA still sticks to the Mercy compositions.
And NA is definitely more still on the Mercy bandwagon. There was a couple times that during our EU tournament I mentioned it, I'm like, this is crazy on Kings Row that we're not seeing Mercies and Pharahs. This has been the staple of Kings Row forever, and neither side would run it. And filling that second support role, because of course you're going to have a Lucio. Lucio Reinhardt are the core of every composition. Who could have predicted that like 5 months ago? Spoiler, it was me. So proud of myself for that, actually, because that article got so much shit. Anyway, so filling out that second support, Mercy just doesn't exactly have the same utility. And now that the EU teams have kind of discovered the meta, I think the NA team is going to have to follow, because one of the best, the only counter to Zenyatta, and the pros I've talked to, is Zenyatta with anyone. The counter isn't to kill that whoever he's on, it's to kill the Zenyatta. And he's really hard to do. So we might see a little more backline diving, things like that, to try to deal with the Zenyatta that is, I mean, it dominated the meta this weekend.
Hanzo's pretty good at killing Zenyatta.
Yeah, we actually saw Hanzo this weekend as well. I mean, everyone's good at killing Zenyatta. It's just, how are you going to get back there to do it? And running a sniper is a possibility.
Get a Genji.
I think one more small thing to note about... Don't say that word. That's going to trigger Robert so hard. I think one more small thing to note about Zenyatta is the fact that he is actually the sneakiest character in the entire game, as he does not make any sounds when he moves. He hovers.
That's true. That's true. Audio positioning is a thing.
It's such a small little thing, but it's definitely there. He does not make any sound.
He's harder.
I think it's actually quite a good
chase.
point.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're like a smart guy, Jacob, aren't you?
Who would have guessed?
Everyone's in shock now.
Not us, judging by our faces.
Yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about the teams this weekend and just kind of the rise we're seeing out of some of these teams. Now, of course, Envious didn't compete. Unfortunately, I still have them at like number one because until someone really beats them, I think they're the best team. But IDDQD beating Melty was phenomenal. They beat them in the semis, which was stunning to us. Reunited did as well as we thought Reunited was going to do. I have high hopes for those guys, but I think I was most not surprised, but impressed by Eccentric this weekend and just the way they won games, the way they dominated the new game mode overall. I think was phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. I I remember us say, at least me saying in chat, like, oh yeah, it's Eccentric against Mix Up, which consists of all the best Team Fortress 2 players you like around at the moment. And I said, like, yeah, Eccentric will be beaten, 100% sure. And
You
well,
have to watch
they
Fluffy play Genji, man.
yeah,
Fluffy on
well,
Genji was ridiculous.
it was
He's too
insane.
good. He's too good.
No,
It was
don't say
it was
that.
also the one on Soldier 76, right?
Yeah, he was running the soldier when they put him up on defense on Kings Row and on
Yeah.
Hollywood, when they just put him
Yeah.
on the perch with a Mercy and said, go to
Yeah.
town.
Yeah, insane. Really impressive. And actually, it reminded me of the Hearthstone World Championship semifinals when Thais was playing Osaka, which was already worthy of a finals and was a big clash. And then the finals were a bit, I don't know, were a walkover. Same was here. Like the semifinals were insane with Eccentric versus Mix Up, and then the finals they just dominated. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point where after next week, we just have to start getting a little bit concerned about Melty. I mean, we mostly because we have such high expectations for them to be the best team in EU and to win these tournaments. So going out in the semis and then losing in the finals is not terrible results, but it's not the results that Melty expects for themselves, at least.
No, not a trio. I think this was. It's not like them losing. It's obviously something that will happen eventually. But I think 3-0 from an up and coming team is quite a big shakeup.
Yeah, Eccentric hype. They were really very gracious in the interview, and I think they're going to keep grinding. I think we're going to see a lot of good things out of them. They're going to be, I mean, if they aren't right now, I have to go back and look at it all. They might be the top team in Europe right now.
All right. Any other talking points we have to go through from this week's tournaments? Because again, you saw it all, Robert.
Oh no, I mean, if we do want to talk about Genji for a second, and speaking of that interview, one of the really intelligent things that the guys from Eccentric said is that Genji's probably too strong. And I was like, this is amazing. This is the first I've heard of someone say that. But they all think the winners of our NA
you weren't
number
on
3,
this.
the championship players of our NA Weekly number 3 have this weird opinion that Genji might be a little too strong right now.
Look, man. You just keep sipping on your haterade over there, and I'll keep enjoying my cool cyborg ninjas. All right.
All right.
So,
yeah, I
it
mean,
wouldn't be a Capture Points episode without the Genji hate laugh.
I was so validated
Tikatomi.
when they mentioned that yesterday. I was so happy. I'm like, I'm not alone. Eccentric.
I don't think you were alone to begin with. I think a lot of them were on the hate Genji boat, man.
Right. Well, their idea is to I mean, a lot of it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier. They want to, one of their ideas is maybe get some damage fall off from a distance. You know, it's kind of that distance damage that we've been talking about all casts, that when you're getting spammed out by a Genji in a hallway, that doesn't feel great because he's also really good at close quarters and medium range. So you can't be good at all ranges. It doesn't feel right. So that was an interesting suggestion on Genji, I thought.
And again, if you don't love or hate Genji already, watch Pluppy play him. You will fall in love or in hate with the character immediately because of the stuff he can do. It's
Or in the EU tourney was Shadow Form, right? If I'm correct, Shadow Form on G2.
I
Yes.
think you're correct. Yes.
Yeah, he was insane too.
Yeah,
I mean,
if you
he's
want some, just real quick, if you want some history on Shadow Form, just look up his TF2 frag videos. They're insane.
yes, I will.
All right, I think we can close the show here, guys. Any final words before we give shoutouts, promote our social medias and whatnot? Any not about Genji because we talked about him
Nerf
quite
May.
a lot already. Nerf what?
Nerf May, just because. Just do it.
Nerf May.
Yeah, no, like Mei is the only hero in the entire game who is not viable at all in any good competition.
Why you gotta nerf her, dude?
This is how you
like,
start making the hero better. You nerf it first. And
I have the hero list in front of me. Like literally every hero can see play at some point except for Mei. Like,
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
There might be a different game mode or a different map or something that really lets her shine. I think her best strength is her ice wall, and there's just not a ton of maps we can see it on. We've seen her used in competitive before when people are trying to break a time, and the other team says, well, if we just put this wall up in front of this door, they can't break our time. So she's got her uses, and it's putting up a wall and then dying, but it is useful.
Hey,
Okay,
she
so-
doesn't die. She's got an ice block.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Jacob, Nerf Mate, Tom, final words, wishes.
Don't nerf me, please.
Oh, Nerf Mate. Wow, this is pretty diverse discussion at the end of the show. Robert,
Yes.
Nerf Genji, what?
No,
But
Overwatch
Genji-
is back. Overwatch is back, and they came
Overwatch
back
is
Tuesday, and we've run some tournaments, and it's just all hype. Everyone, full steam ahead. I'm amped. Thanks for watching
Alright.
our weeklies this weekend, by the way, too. We'll do them next week as well.
Of course
Yep.
we'll do, and
Why
we'll
they're
keep
called
doing them
weeklies?
because, yeah,
I just
It's-
put that
it-
together. Thanks, Jacob.
it's almost if there's a connection, like a magical one. But anyways, thank you guys for joining us for the 4th episode of Capture Points, the return of the podcast on Twitch. Follow us because we're awesome people and we like Overwatch and we talk about it a lot. So if you love the game, you'll love the stuff we say. I'm hoping. Don't hate us because some of us love Genji and the other part of us are oblivious. Follow Robert at Hexagrams, follow Tom at Mateist, follow Jacob at menmode_hots, and follow me at GGNitro. We all write for GosuGamers.net, so hop on there and check the content we are spewing. These 3 guys more than me. I'm kind of the overlord that, brings out the whip when they don't do enough work. Actually, I don't do this already. I should start doing it. I should start whipping you guys more. We need more content.
Luckily for me, I'm into that. So,
Yeah.
win-win.
So subscribe to the show, go to YouTube, to the GosuGamers YouTube channel, and join us again next week when we'll have another episode of the show. I suppose it will be the same time, the same day, but we'll give you any updates if any change occurs. I've been Radoslav Nedrakolev, and for me and all of my colleagues, have a nice evening and go back playing Overwatch.